Hello and welcome to the third episode of Mole in Hell, your Diablo 4 podcast. My name is ChaosMole, and today I want to talk a little bit about the features which have not been in the beta. As you know, the beta has been now over for over a week, and everyone is looking forward to finally playing the game again. Believe me included. I definitely want to go back as quickly as possible to Diablo. It's like the last few days or even week has been like, man, what am I doing now? Okay, I guess I could play Last Epoch again, and it's just you want to play that game again, right? And it has been absolutely fun, and I cannot wait to finally jump into the game, probably at release, because if Blizzard has only announced one beta, there will only be one beta, but we have to talk a little bit about that. So what I want to talk about briefly here is the features we have not seen in the Diablo beta, and I have to admit, they are a little bit of concern to me, because when you have played the beta, it's this, oh my god, this was fun. This was really, really fun. Really enjoyed myself. Nearly every class was great. The gameplay felt good. Like, everything felt quality, which is already a very good sign. But there is this little thing nagging away in the back of my head, telling me, don't trust them, don't fall for it, you saw this before, don't trust them. And it sucks that I have this thought, because, again, like, everything we have seen so far was great, but unfortunately, why I'm having this thought is because Diablo 3. If you have not been there for the Diablo 3 release, well, lucky. You can consider yourself one of the lucky people. The Diablo 3 release was an absolute disaster, and I'm not just talking about the server issues they had. I talk about the disaster of a game it was. Like, Diablo 3 at the beginning was shit. It was a broken piece of crap. And no, I will not sugarcoat that. It was bad. It was not what Diablo fans wanted. It had pay-to-win mechanics, which were just absolutely intrusive. And all in all, the game was not ready to be released. That was the reality. Now, of course, if you're playing Reaper of Souls, you will not find any of that left in the game, and they have turned it around. But it took them so long that, like, it's kind of... It completely corrupted my view on future Diablo entries. That's how bad it was for me, and for a lot of other people. Like, it was the first Diablo game coming from Blizzard. Please don't forget, Diablo 1 and 2 was not made by Blizzard. It was made by Blizzard North, completely different studio, and the only thing they had in common was the name Blizzard, but it was a completely independent studio. And then they killed off Blizzard North, literally killed it off, because they needed people for World of Warcraft, and they told them, hey, you will pack your shit, you come over here, you will work for us on World of Warcraft. And the fun part about it, which I still think is hilarious and calmer, even today, was that most of the studio just said, now we out. We do our own thing. And however, don't really want to go too much into that. If you want to know more about how this happened, there are multiple videos out there. I think even I made a video about it. But there's like tons of documentaries out there. It's really interesting. But the problem in the beta was, so how did the beta of Diablo 3 came together? Well, first things first, they had a friends and family alpha, and that was not under NDA. So streamers were allowed to stream it. And you could only play to level 13 and the Skeleton King. And people excused that by saying, well, it's just friends and family alpha. They're probably not ready yet, and they don't want to show too much right at the beginning. This makes sense. Give them some time. Again, this is just friends and family and friends alpha. Beta is coming. Then the beta came around, and it was the same thing. It was exactly the same thing. Everyone has already seen content creators are playing, right? And so people were finally able to play it themselves. And even at that point, there was already this nagging feeling of something is wrong here. Something just doesn't feel right. And of course, a lot of Blizzard fans were going into high gear to completely defend the game. And I know nobody wants a bad game, right? If you're looking forward for years for a new game coming out in your beloved series, you want this game to succeed, and you are not allowing any bad mouthing on it. Like, shit. Diablo 2 came out in what, 2001? And then a year later we got Lord of Destruction. And then 10 years nothing. And we had to wait another 10 years again for Diablo 4. So of course you go, no man, this has to be good. I've been waiting so long for this. I cannot wait another 10 years again to finally get something which might be good. Thankfully, we know have enough action RPGs out there which might tickle your fancy. We have Path of Exile, of course, which is now the biggest one. We have Grim Dawn. We have Last Epoch. We have some smaller ones out there. Like we have a lot of action RPGs now you can choose from. But nonetheless, it's Diablo, right? Like one of the first and one of the biggest action RPGs to revolutionize the whole RPG/action RPG genre, right? Diablo 1, Diablo 2, milestones and what they brought to an action RPG. And every time a new action RPG came out, people were like, is it like Diablo? Can it dethrone Diablo? Is it trying to take the mantle from Diablo? How was Diablo thinking about this? Like, right? It's this, man, everyone wanted to be Diablo. So even with the disaster Diablo 3 was, Diablo is still an IP which has a lot of power behind it. And so when the beta came out in Diablo 3, it was there was just this feeling that something is not right here. And then of course the release happened of Diablo 3 and everybody knew, like, oh shit, oh, this is real. That everything we basically feared happened at the release of Diablo 3. And you just realize Blizzard didn't show you more of Diablo 3 because they were not ready. Blizzard didn't show you more of Diablo 3 because they feared what we would have to say about it, right? And like there is still this thought a little bit that this might be the case for Diablo 4, right? They are not wanting to show us too much about it. Now, this time, they gave us the complete first act, which is already a huge increase. Level 25, we have a world boss, we have all the classes. Like, you can basically see how the gameplay will kind of feel like. And thankfully, the community has been already pointing out a few things they do not like, and they would have loved to see this way before the release so that they can be made substantial changes, like the dungeons. Especially in the regard of the dungeons feel a lot the same, and most of the dungeon bosses don't feel that interesting or are, again, the same, right? So, not knowing what the end game will bring is, of course, a little bit problematic. The good thing is the people who had the chance to play the end game beta, because that existed, said, no, it's good. Like, it's really, really fun. We cannot talk too much about it because it was under NDA. It's still under NDA, so you're still not allowed to showcase anything of it or to talk about it. But from what we have heard from the people who played it, it was good. It was not a problem, right? But again, it wasn't in the beta. Another thing which was not in the beta, and this is actually something which really concerns me, is PvP. PvP was not in the beta, and PvP is not a second thought in Diablo 4. Like, going back to Diablo 2, you know what's funny to me? I always have to chuckle a little bit about it, thinking about the whole thing. When you're talking to people about Diablo 2, they're like, oh, yeah, they have Mephisto runs. Yeah, of course, Baal runs, Blood runs. Yeah, sure. But you know what was also really cool? Just going outside airing your stupid teen differences, because let's be honest here, most people played it in their teens, and just beat each other's faces in, grabbed the ear, and had a little bit of PvP fun in Diablo 2. It's kind of funny to me that I think 90% of the people who played Diablo 2 has never touched PvP, that there are still so many people who have apparently fun memories of PvP. I will be honest, I think I played PvP twice or 3 times in Diablo 2. But I wouldn't necessarily say I have fond memories of it because I can't really remember anymore, and it wasn't apparently too special. So it's kind of funny to me that the community of Diablo 2 has a lot of fond memories of PvP, even though probably most people have never played it. But hey, again, in Diablo 4, it's not an afterthought. Blizzard has been showcasing the PvP whenever they could in their trailers. They were also kind of mentioning it whenever they could. And now here's the problem. That changed. They haven't talked about PvP anymore. Not really. They haven't really showcased it. And it wasn't in the beta. And I know what people will say. Mo, look. PvP is not in the first act. And they only showcased the first act. So we couldn't go to a PvP area. Yeah, but that shouldn't be a problem. Put a portal there. Like, look, they had the developers. They can just put up a portal to the PvP area, put then a net around the PvP area so that people cannot leave the PvP area, or they're getting teleported back to the main city or something like that. Exactly what they did with the first act. No, there would have been a lot of ways to make this happen, to give us a little bit of PvP, but they specifically decided not to do that. And I will be honest, that concerns me a bit. It concerns me enough that they had PvP in the end game beta, but then afterwards, when people pointed out that the balance wasn't there, there were some issues here and there, Blizzard just turned silent. And I don't know. I want to play PvP. I want to play PvP in Diablo 4, and not having seen anything of it, not really getting a feeling of the balance. And let's be real here. Balance will be abhorrent. I think we can all agree on that, right? Like Blizzard, man, look, I've been playing Blizzard games since they introduced Battle.net. I have played PvE and PvP for years, and the balance was always an issue. Look, I love Blizzard games, but when it comes to release balance in any of their games, it's not there. Like I still remember Warcraft 3, Necromancer. My God, for 3 months, Necromancer just dominated the ladder. And there were even people who just left the game the moment they saw that you played undead and they saw that you were going necromancers. They were out. What was the problem with necromancers? Well, there was a support unit who did as much damage as one of the main DPS classes, could still push out a lot of debuffs, and could summon skeletons after the whole army died, so that you had to fight the army twice, and AoE didn't enough damage. And there wasn't really a counterplay because of the attack/armor which was available in Reign of Chaos, so that they even had to not only slash the damage in half, they had to introduce a complete new attack type to the casters, plus a complete new armor type who would like just eradicate like magic damage. Obscene. Absolute obscene. You know? Again, Blizzard and their balance has been always a bit questionable at best, right? So they cannot really say that they don't really have to test PvP because the balance will just be there at release. And it's like, no. We all know that's not true. It won't. So it seems very much like that they would just let it happen. They will probably realize that not a lot of people will play PvP at the beginning, and it will be a slaughterfest. It's kind of interesting because they have a PvP stat in the game, and it was in the beta, where the PvP damage is decreased by, what was it, 94%, and then your stats would still count into that somehow. Again, I have a lot of questions, and we have also seen, like, this is also kind of weird. If you have been looking at some of the talent trees, there was a lot of PvP stuff in it. A lot of PvP skills, a lot of PvP passives, which you will never use in PvE. And again, Blizzard did no testing around it, which is odd. It's like, okay, so you clearly thought about it. Why are you not testing it? Now, and this is just me, this is all just having my thought process here in the video/podcast. I'm hoping that by the end, we will get another beta. Not where they are testing the end game. I don't think that Blizzard will give us that, because let's be real here. The open beta we got was a marketing beta. It was a demo. And they could test some servers, right? But that was all. So they will not give us a second beta where we can play the end game, because that would be weird for marketing. Why? Truth to be told, I know this is a little bit of a personal rant, but I hate developers/publishers who truly believe that if they are not showing you the end game of your game, which is building on an end game, you are more inclined to buy the game because you want to know what the end game is. And I'm no, you dingus. If I don't know what I'm getting, I'm not buying the cat in the box, right? I want to see that ish, and I want to have felt it. It's like buying a new car, and they're letting you sit in the car, but they are no, on the highway, no. So you can drive around in the city a little bit, but if you want to get on the highway, no. This is where we are calling it, and it's nobody would ever do that. You would immediately think, wow, that's shifty. What? Right? In the video games, everyone is like, yeah, it's okay. Well, don't show us the end game, I guess. I don't like that. I really don't like that. So we will not get another beta, but I'm still hoping to get a beta/PvP weekend, because PvP will be so different from what we experience in PvE that I think it would justify another beta weekend, just to let the people get a feeling of it. Yes, maybe they know what a catastrophe it will be, and this is why they're not showcasing it, because they're maybe afraid that PvP players will see it and go not buying that. And I'm kind of expecting it, because they don't have the arena. They don't do what Lost Ark did. Like Lost Ark, if you are not doing the islands, but you are actually doing the arena and stuff, it is one of the best action RPG PvP experiences you will ever have, right? And so yeah, I don't think we will get another beta, neither for PvP, nor for endgame. And we now have to wait for 2 months to get a release. What I also strongly believe is that the first class we are getting is the Paladin. Because if you have played the main story a little bit in Diablo 4, you might remember the Paladin helping you. And the Paladin has its own skill set. He had a lot of abilities when you're looking at what he is doing, which were specifically only created for this dude. And I've never seen them ever again on another enemy or another character. And I was like, wow. So Blizzard, you were telling me you created a skill set for this dude alone and for only one mission? Bullshit. Bullshit. This is already the skill set the Paladin will get when they introduce the Paladin like a month or two, or maybe in the first season of Diablo 4. I think they will add more classes relatively quickly. The only thing I'm fearing, and that's because of Overwatch 2, thank you for that, Blizzard, that you have instilled that fear now in me, is that they will put the classes behind the Battle Pass. They will literally put them in a relatively high level, and they will say you can pay for it, or you have to play the season to unlock the class. I'm betting money on that. It will happen. And I am so not okay with it, and so afraid of that happens. Like, it sucks. But yeah, so the Paladin would definitely be the next class coming up, in my opinion. And I'm thinking they will probably rework the Druid till the release, or briefly after the release. What could be another class they could bring in? The Monk? I could kind of bring in the Monk afterwards. I'm, again, 100% sure the Paladin will be the first class edition. And then we'll probably get the Monk. And then, interestingly enough, we are pretty much done with the classes which are available. Right? Like, we are kind of done then with all the classes, and they have to bring in something new and we haven't seen before. And I'm actually kind of curious about that. And I wonder how often we are getting new classes. But I think those are the things I would have loved to see in the beta, and we haven't. Does it change my mind on the game? Does it change my decision on buying the game? No, it doesn't, thankfully. Because, as I said, we have already like a feeling for the stuff. Like, that was one of the big issues Diablo 3 had, was that you couldn't get a feeling for anything coming afterwards. Because there wasn't anything afterwards, like the whole endgame, right? Doing rifts and all that didn't exist at the point. There was no endgame, because Blizzard thought, and they literally said that, they thought they have at least a few months before people even reaching max level. This was why, what was it, Hell? No, Inferno. They added Inferno to it. That was so unnecessary. But they added Inferno to it. And Inferno was totally not balanced. And Blizzard literally said in an interview, well, we thought we had at least like a month or two before the first people even reach Inferno, not just days. So we didn't balance that. And it's like, wow, unbelievable. But that whole feeling, I don't really have, right? There is no feeling of, oh, this will not work in endgame. So that's a good thing. But I think that's all what I want to talk about today in the podcast. Before we leave, a few notes, which is really, really important. So don't close it. First things first, I will probably now push the podcast into a 2-week cycle, because there's no beta. We will probably not get a lot of new information, and all things considered, it will be slower and slower, and the podcasts will be also become a little bit faster. Like, they will not take that long, right? So keep that please in mind. We will then, of course, up the cadence again the closer we're getting to the release. And then when the release happens itself, we will definitely up the cadence there. But so far, I think we have covered everything around the beta. Diablo will go back into a sleep mode for 2 months. That is also so weird. Blizzard does an open beta to showcase the game, right? To do it as a marketing showcase. And now for 2 months, that's it. I was like, huh? That's a weird marketing decision in my opinion, but who am I, right? But yeah, so 2 weeks cadence. I will see if maybe at some point I will find somebody who can help me out with the podcast here and there, because I think it's always more interesting if you have a second opinion and you can talk about certain topics, right? I just have to find somebody. We will see. No stress here. But yeah, please don't forget, if you enjoy this podcast, to subscribe to the channel for more videos. There will be still Diablo videos. Like, it's not like that this channel here in particular, the Mole P channel, will not have any videos whatsoever till the release. I've actually already planned a few videos out in the future, and yeah, they're still coming. So don't you worry about that. Also, if you want to check out my other channels, especially my main channel, which is youtube.com/@ChaosMole, where we are doing our daily live streams starting at 8 a.m. ET, that is 1 p.m. UK time, and 2 p.m. Central European time. We have gaming news, and then we are always playing the newest games. And that's also where we'll probably play most, if not all, of my Diablo streams. So if you want to check that out, you're more than welcome to do so. And we'll put a link in the video description. But yeah, if you enjoyed the podcast, do all the like, subscribe thingy. I don't know what Spotify and Apple and all that is offering. So sorry for that. Whatever you do to keep up to date with the podcast and you enjoyed this, please don't forget to do that. With that said, I will see you in 2 weeks with a new podcast for Diablo 4. Until then, stay safe and welcome to hell. See you next time. Bye-bye.